Clara's dream unspooled like a silver thread. She stood in a vast, moonlit field. The grass swayed high, brushing against her thighs, and the air was thick with the scent of rain. At first, she felt alone. But then a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, darting between the tall grass. She turned, expecting Elena. Instead, a pale figure emerged. The entity. Its form was shifting, neither man nor woman, flesh nor ghost. Yet its eyes burned, a void filled with hunger. "You think she loves you," it rasped. "But she was mine first." Clara staggered back, her bare feet sinking into wet earth. "Stay away from me." But the figure only smiled, revealing a mouth too wide, filled with teeth that gleamed like shards of glass. It reached out, and the field melted away. Now Clara was in her childhood bedroom. The wallpaper was the same faded rose pattern, the wooden floor creaking under her steps. But the room felt wrong, cold. The bed was covered in sheets that writhed like living things. And Elena was there. She stood at the foot of the bed, her dark hair loose around her shoulders, her white shirt slipping from one collarbone. Her gaze was molten, piercing. "Elena," Clara whispered. But Elena did not answer. Instead, she crossed the room in slow, deliberate steps. Her hand lifted, brushing Clara's jaw, thumb grazing her lower lip. Clara's breath caught. The world narrowed to the heat of that touch. When Elena kissed her, it was unlike anything Clara had known, hungry, desperate, full of fire. The dream sharpened every detail, the softness of Elena's mouth, the press of her body, the way her hands slid possessively to Clara's waist. Clara gasped against her lips. The sound turned into a moan as Elena pushed her back onto the bed. Shadows licked at the edges of the room, coiling like serpents, but Clara hardly noticed. Her body burned, her heart thundered. "Elena." The name left her lips like a prayer. But then Elena's eyes opened, and they were wrong. Black. Hollow. The kiss deepened into something suffocating, draining. Clara struggled, panic rising. The warmth of love had turned into icy possession. "You cannot keep her from me," the voice hissed, not Elena's, but the entity's. "Even here, in your dreams, I take her shape. I take her body. I take her from you." Clara tried to scream, but no sound came. The sheets wound tighter around her wrists, binding her. The figure above her shifted again, Elena's face twisting, breaking apart like cracked porcelain until only the entity remained, grinning. "Wake up." The whisper snapped her from sleep. Clara bolted upright, drenched in sweat, her chest heaving. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the oil lamp on the nightstand. "Elena." Her voice shook. Elena was already awake, sitting beside her on the bed, brows furrowed with worry. She reached out, steadying Clara's trembling shoulders. "You dreamed again," Elena murmured. Clara nodded, clutching her arms around herself. She couldn't stop shaking. It was you, but it wasn't you. It kissed me. It touched me. It felt so real." For a long moment, Elena said nothing. Then, softly, she brushed Clara's damp hair back from her face. "It wants you vulnerable. It wants you to doubt me." Clara's eyes stung with tears. "But what if I can't tell the difference anymore? What if I lose you in there?" "You won't." Elena's voice was low, steady, fierce. She cupped Clara's cheek, her thumb stroking gently. "You will always know me. The entity can mimic, but it cannot feel. It cannot love you the way I do." The words silenced Clara's trembling. Her gaze locked with Elena's, and for a moment, the nightmare's claws loosened. She leaned into her touch, her lips brushing Elena's palm. "Elena." "Yes." "Don't let go. Not even in dreams." Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to promise forever, but promises felt fragile when shadows lurked even in sleep. Instead, she leaned forward, pressing her lips to Clara's forehead in a kiss that was both vow and shield. "I won't," she whispered. That night, neither of them slept much. Clara drifted in and out, clinging to Elena each time the Dream threatened to return. And Elena, though exhausted, kept watch, her body curved protectively around Clara's, her hand never leaving hers. When dawn came, pale light filtering through the curtains, Clara finally spoke again. Elena, I felt something in the dream. Not just fear. Desire. It twisted it, used it against me. Elena's jaw tightened. She had seen such tactics before, hauntings that blurred the line between longing and terror. It will use everything, she said quietly. Your memories. Your desires. Even your love for me. Clara's chest fluttered at the words, though fear pressed against the warmth. Then what do we do? Elena looked at her, her eyes dark and certain. We don't let it control the narrative. If it dares to weave desire into fear, then we take that desire back. On our own terms. Clara blinked, heat rushing to her cheeks. You mean? Elena didn't answer. She only leaned closer, her lips hovering over Clara's. The kiss was gentle, tender, real. Nothing like the twisted hunger of the dream. And Clara knew the difference. The entity could haunt her nights, but it could never replicate this. This was theirs. The night had grown quieter than it should have. Even the crickets outside had gone still, as though the forest itself was holding its breath. Elena sat in the parlor of the inn, the firelight licking across her face. She looked carved from shadow and flame, her dark hair falling like ink over her shoulders, her eyes tired but burning within. Intensity that made Clara's chest tighten every time she dared to look. Clara, restless, paced the length of the rug. She felt raw, every nerve exposed. She couldn't decide if it was the nightmares haunting her sleep, the whispers still threading through the walls of this so-called safe haven, or the woman sitting across from her, whose very presence unmoored her. Elena, Clara began, but stopped. Her voice caught in her throat like a fishhook. The investigator raised her gaze, steady, unflinching. You've been trembling for hours. Speak it, before it eats you alive. Clara laughed, small, nervous, brittle. You make it sound so simple. As though words don't matter. They matter more than anything, Elena replied, leaning back, her silhouette a perfect contradiction of weariness and command. But fear grows when silence feeds it. I've seen men driven mad because they refused to name what haunted them. The word haunted stirred the air. Clara crossed her arms, rubbing at her shoulders. And what if it isn't a ghost that haunts me? Elena's eyes narrowed, searching, piercing. Then tell me what it is. The fire crackled. Clara stopped pacing, turned toward Elena, and let herself breathe. Her heart was pounding so loudly it nearly drowned the words before she could force them free. It's you, Clara whispered. Elena froze. The flames painted her cheekbones gold, her lips red, her eyes dark as the void itself. For a heartbeat, she seemed carved from marble. Clara swallowed, forcing herself to continue. I'm haunted by you. The way you walk into a room like you've been fighting death your whole life and winning. The way you look at me, like you see everything I want to hide and everything I'm too afraid to admit. And the way she broke off, her voice trembling. The way I can't stop wanting you. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. The fire popped, sparks leaping. Outside, the wind rattled the shutters. Elena's expression didn't move. But Clara could see the storm behind her stillness. She could feel it. The magnetic pull between them, the electricity of unsaid truths that had been simmering since the night they met. Finally, Elena spoke. Her voice was softer than Clara had ever heard it. You shouldn't say that. Clara's stomach sank, but something fierce rose in her chest, something wild, unashamed. And why not? Because it's dangerous? Because you think it makes me weak? I don't care. I've lived in the shadow of that cursed house long enough. I've lost too many nights to fear. I won't lose this to it as well. Elena stood. The motion was sudden, sharp, but not angry, restless, like a wolf pacing. She ran a hand through her hair, her jaw clenched tight. You don't understand what you're saying, she muttered. Yes, I do, Clara shot back, stepping closer. Her voice shook but didn't falter. I understand. Perfectly. I've never wanted anyone like this. Not in my entire life. And if the darkness swallows us tomorrow, if that thing comes for us again, I don't want my last thought to be that I was too much of a coward to tell you. Elena turned then, fast enough that Clara nearly stumbled back from the force of her gaze. For a moment, the air felt thick, charged like a storm about to break. Elena's voice was low, rough, breaking. Do you think you're alone in this? Clara blinked, stunned. What? You've haunted me too, Clara. Elena's hands trembled at her sides as though she couldn't control them. Every laugh, every glance. You disarm me in ways bullets never could. I've faced corpses that walked, shadows that whispered, creatures that wanted nothing more than to drink my soul dry. But you, she stepped forward, closing the space between them. You terrify me more than any of them. Clara's breath hitched. She was trembling, though from desire, not fear. Then why do you keep pushing me away? Because I don't know if I can keep you safe, Elena confessed, her voice raw. And wanting you means giving you more ways to be hurt, more ways to lose you. Then let me decide if I'm willing to take that risk, Clara whispered. Their eyes locked, the air thrumming. Clara lifted her chin, her lips parting, waiting, pleading for Elena to make the choice. Neither of them could escape anymore. Elena gave in. With a sound half groan, half prayer, she surged forward, capturing Clara's mouth with her own. The kiss was not gentle. It was fierce, desperate, filled with every moment of restraint finally snapping. Clara gasped, clutching at Elena's coat, pulling her closer until there was no space between them. The fire roared as though feeding on their hunger. Shadows leapt wildly across the walls, but for once, Clara wasn't afraid of them. She melted into Elena, into the press of lips and the heat of breath, into the certainty that this was not just desire, it was recognition, as if their souls had known each other across lifetimes and were only now allowed to meet again. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Clara pressed her forehead to Elena's. Say it, please. Elena's voice shook, but the words came clear. I want you. God help me, Clara, I've wanted you since the night I walked into that cursed house. Clara smiled through tears she hadn't realized were spilling. She framed Elena's face in her hands, her thumbs brushing her cheekbones. Then don't let fear stop us. Don't let it take this from us. We're already fighting shadows every night, why fight this too? Elena closed her eyes, her shoulders sagging as though a weight had finally lifted. If we do this, there's no turning back. Good, Clara said firmly, and kissed her again. This time slower, deeper, a promise instead of a confession. The fire burned low, the ink creaked, the night pressed in close, but for the first time, Clara didn't feel hunted. She felt whole. She felt chosen. She felt alive.